Great, thank you, Ahmed. Just going to share my screen and begin the presentation. Fantastic introduction. Thanks again. We're very pleased to be here and excited at the opportunity we have to work with Pegasus in the emerging markets this year. The focus of my presentation is going to be a little bit more on Looker itself. We are sort of uniquely positioned in the era of big data to be more than just a visualization tool, but really be a tool that enables your organization to operationalize data and make it more valuable as you're able to take more action and process more. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history, just go back to sort of why our founder built the tool the way he did and how we're able to sort of uniquely attack big data sets. The problems that he set out to solve, he was a data analyst in the 80s and 90s and recognized very quickly that there are two general problems that every analyst team faces. Number one is the data bottleneck problem. This is just sort of in a typical organization. You're gonna have a small team of people that have the skills to analyze data, and then you have a large amount of department heads that want access to the team and to the reports that they can build for them. And so you end up in a situation where there's much more demand on their time than they have hours in the day, and you come into this bottleneck of skills. The end result of this typically is that people just sort of skip over the step of reading reports and ultimately don't use data to make their decisions. And there are all kinds of risks that can be found in that situation. The second problem that we set out to solve is this idea of data chaos. And this is a relatively newer idea, but imagine if the department heads have access to the data itself and they have tools on their local hardware where they can build reports and analyze the data to a certain extent on their own. The challenge in this environment is that there's no common measurement, no common definition of the KPIs or reports. So people end up going to meetings with various different stories based on the same data set, different conclusions drawn from the same data, as everyone's measuring things differently. So again, just going back in history as to why we built the tool specifically the way we did, is because our founder, Lloyd Tabb, identified that this workflow was extremely common and he wanted to build a tool to overcome it, and actually built it at several companies before building Looker itself. Generally, there are workbook analytics, as I mentioned. As people sort of mature in sophistication, there will be in-app reporting. You've got CRM reports, you've got marketing automation reports, you've got some web analytics reports. And if you've got a good analyst, you'll be able to automate some of that. So the reports are delivered out to people for the weekly meeting. The challenge is when department heads have questions about why things happen rather than just what happened. Inevitably, you have to go back to the analyst team, and so you still end up in a situation where you have a data bottleneck, ultimately. This is just the way things worked, because historically, databases have been expensive and relatively inefficient at sort of doing analysis, but this all changed in 2010, 2011, as sort of modern MPP databases built by Amazon and Google and companies of that size, they became very accessible and much less expensive to maintain. In this new environment, we've built a tool that delivers this type of workflow to our customers. Rather than having to go back to the analyst world, we truly deliver self-service exploration to non-technical members of your team. And even taking a step further, there's a lot of automation that we can set up in Looker to operationalize those analytics and really deliver them to wherever they need to be in your org. So just a quick overview of Looker. We are relatively young in the BI analytics space. We were founded in 2012, but as Ahmed mentioned, we have grown extremely quickly. We currently have over 1,500 customers globally, and we have offices globally as well. We're speaking to you from Dublin right now. We also have offices in London, throughout North America, and our global headquarters is in Santa Cruz, California. You'll notice that we are backed by some of the best known names in Silicon Valley. We have very tight relationships, technical partnerships with Amazon, Google, Microsoft. We're poised to really catch on fire and expand at an extremely rapid rate here. So I'm going to go through some customer stories. As you can see from this slide, we find pretty compelling use cases in a variety of industries. These are sort of our 5 biggest verticals. Bottom line, however, is that if you collect massive amounts of data, if you want to be able to take action on your data rather than just collect it, we can help you out. One of our best known customers in Europe is Deliveroo. Deliveroo is a service that sort of connects local restaurants to users and offers extremely quick, hyper-local home delivery. They need to be a data-driven organization. Their app is essentially their pathway to revenue. And they had set up some infrastructure to be able to action this data before. However, as their team grew, the hardware itself actually started falling over as unpredictable strain was placed on it. They see a lot of variance in user behavior based on things like weather conditions, sporting events. There's all kinds of sort of unpredictable things that play into their usage. And as they had a tool that wasn't positioned to really take advantage of big data, they put too much strain on their data warehouse, and it would fall over at extremely inopportune moments. With Looker, we've been able to really streamline how they access that data. It's a much more reliable way to manage their big data. And then additionally, they have a situation where they're able to self-serve. So there are no analysts putting huge strains on their data warehouse. Instead, there's business users that are asking questions of the data and taking action as they need to. The next story I wanted to run through is Yahoo. Yahoo's a pretty well-known name in the technology industry. They've been using Looker for several years. The way we helped them is that they have a team of 1,000 people that manage their mobile app. And they were just unable to use data to make decisions. As you can imagine, especially on the mobile app team, it's extremely important to be able to action data points. They sort of had a classic data bottleneck situation where app producers and engineers were unable to access the reports that they needed in real time in order to optimize, fix, improve the app as they wanted to. So with Looker, all 1,000 team members log in. All 1,000 team members have access to real-time data. And it's user-friendly enough for them to be able to really ask any question and take action as they need to. And the last customer story I wanted to touch on is HubSpot. They're a pretty well-known marketing automation B2B SaaS company. HubSpot is sort of near and dear to my heart. Before working at Looker, I worked at HubSpot as an account executive. And part of the reason that I decided to jump on board with Looker is the experience I had at HubSpot, using it for reporting. As a global sales team, there are approximately 1,000 reps. And there are a whole bunch of ways to purchase HubSpot, which causes, as you can imagine, some complications as you're trying to monitor your performance as a sales rep. I would have to go to Salesforce and look at a report there. There was an online system that I would have to go to, and really it was just a painful process to see what my attainment looked like on a regular basis. When they purchased Looker, it was extremely simple to log in. They would pull the data from every possible data source into one simple view where I could see how I was tracking for that month, for that quarter, for that year, and really trust the data, which is a challenge with a lot of other reporting tools. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the solution itself, and then we'll transition into Kieran's demonstration. So as I mentioned before, we don't really want to be just a visualization tool. We want to be a data platform that enables your team to take action. So while we do offer full dashboards and visualization capabilities, the more important aspect and what I want to sort of ingrain after this presentation is that beyond the dashboards, we're enabling you to really use data in your org. We want your business users, your non-technical people to be able to explore and ask any ad hoc question of the data. We don't want them restrained to a specific data set, really restrained to a specific report, but we want them to be able to explore as they see fit. And then Kieran's going to touch on this a lot in the demonstration, but really sharing data throughout the organization is what is important. As one person does their analysis, there may be 3 or 4 people that need to be made aware of some question that they've been able to answer. So we want to show you how easy it is to do that. From an analyst perspective, there are three sort of key benefits to Looker, and these are the three core pillars of our platform and our solution. We're the only big data solution on the market, and we're able to do that because we don't actually ingest, we don't move your data at all. We want you to have ownership of your data warehouse. This sort of serves two purposes. Number one is that the performance of databases is improving at such a rapid rate that I think our founder decided it was important for you to be able to upgrade at any time from a hardware perspective. We don't want to compete with Amazon, Google, and Microsoft on a hardware side. We want to take advantage of all the resources that they're putting into building out their infrastructure as a service offerings. The second benefit of us not moving your data is that we can manage data at scale. We're not putting it in a black box. We're not moving it anywhere. It allows our solution to be extremely lightweight. The way that we're then able to access your data and display it to non-technical people is by using a data modeling layer powered by LookML. LookML is very similar to SQL. It's an abstraction of SQL, and fundamentally what it allows is for your data team to set up sort of a rigid set of KPIs, definitions. They record all of the relationships between the data in your database. And they record that in LookML so that all of the queries that you would want to run are able to be run in a very repeatable way and in a very scalable way. We're going to get more granular on LookML and the data modeling layer in a moment. The final benefit is that compared to our competitors in this space, we're extremely new. So we have all these benefits of being born in the modern era of SaaS software. Fully browser-based application, the GUI renders to any device size. We're able to show reports, dashboards, looks on mobile phones, on tablets, PCs without any problems at all. It's extremely easy to embed Looker into other applications. Internally, we use Looker within Salesforce on a regular basis. And then we've got a full RESTful API and can integrate with third-party applications to do things and sort of trigger events very programmatically based on the data. And I'd like to go through an architecture slide of sort of a standard Looker deployment. This is the way we set up, some of our startup companies in San Francisco and London that we work with, all the way up to our massive data customers like Snapchat and Uber. The first step to a performant Looker deployment is to centralize data from all of your apps, your transactional databases, any of your marketing data, sales data, put it into any SQL dialect database. We work with 36 or 38 dialects of SQL at this time. We take responsibility for making sure that we can speak any of those languages so that you don't have to worry about it going forward. Then the next step is to build out that LookML powered data modeling layer. And this really is the sort of unique selling point of Looker, especially when compared to some of the older BI tools out there. This is a code-based data model. And really, it's just where we set up your dictionary of KPIs, where we define the relationship between all of your data objects. And it's going to allow your business users through a web interface in a self-service exploration layer or in a visualization dashboard layer to interact with that data. And as they navigate through your user interface, Looker is using LookML to write performant SQL queries and send them to your data warehouse and return them in real time. We can export data from Looker. As I mentioned, there are a whole bunch of ways to share information from Looker. Embedding in third-party applications is simple. And with our RESTful API, I mentioned already that we can do a lot of things programmatically. And finally, I just wanted to touch on the fact that along with our consulting partners like Pegasus, we do have a full professional services team. We're here to partner with you, not just to sell software. So you can really select any level of support that you're looking for, from our quick jumpstart program where we get you set up in 6 weeks, to a rapid deployment program where we can set you up even quicker as you get more resources from Looker. And we've got ongoing consulting available if you'd like someone to work with you sort of for the long term. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Kieran Doyle, for a live product demonstration.